Hi, today on behalf of the CEC, I'd like to introduce one of the people that will be joining us. Actually, he was there last year, I believe, as well. His name is Larry Jeager. He's the CEO of SponsorBurst and the founder and president of 24Z Esports Consulting. Larry is considered an expert on Gen Z marketing. He is also an experienced entrepreneur who has raised angel investment as well, and also involved in Series A institutional capital raising. So why don't you give us a little bit more information, Larry, about you, about your background, maybe tell us a little bit about SponsorBurst Esports as well.
Yeah, no, fantastic, and thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Love that you're both on the call with me here, and appreciate it very, very much. The conference last year, you're right, I was there, and it was just fantastic, and absolutely looking forward to it again in the fall here. So, real excited. Again, my name's Larry Jeager. It's SponsorBurst Esports is the name of the company. My background comes out of technology. I spent many, many years at some of the biggest technology companies in the world, 10 years in sales and marketing at Apple, worked for Dell Computer, worked for Intel. And, that kind of was my foundation in my background as far as my corporate life, cashed in there and, again, had that entrepreneurial spirit inside of me, that fire burning that, a lot of us entrepreneurs have. And so started company called SponsorBurst. We do sponsorships for the sports and entertainment industries. We specialize in high school and collegiate sports and bringing sponsors into that world. We're also the official agency for the third largest amusement park company in the world, Cedar Fair Entertainment, who owns 15 parks across the U.S., some very well-known names like Knott's Berry Farm out in LA, Cedar Point, Kings Island, and others. So that's the basis of our sponsorship agency. But 3 years ago, with esports absolutely just on fire and taking off, we got into that space because we were being asked, at all different levels by both endemic and non-endemic sponsors, how we might be able to help them facilitate relationships with the sports and entertainment companies that we worked with. So we've been in esports ever since, and that has positioned us as one of the leading boutique agencies for sponsorships in the esports space. And additionally, because kind of part of our core business has always been high schools, we are very much doing a lot of consulting because at the high school level, what's happening, it's being pushed from the top down. As we all know, over 250 colleges now offer esports scholarships for their esports athletes. And so all of the high schools are kind of scratching their heads saying, well, okay, we know what esports is. We don't know how to set up our hardware. We don't know, what leagues to set up, what platform, all of that. So we're very much involved at the amateur, high school and collegiate level doing consulting in addition to SponsorBurst and sponsorship. So that's kind of the 30,000-foot view of where we get involved in the industry.
Can you do me a favor, Larry? Can you walk us through how you would implement the marketing part of SponsorBurst, let's say in a casino environment, for example, if they wanted to? I mean, I know we cover collegiate as well as amusement too, but and I think it's a little more unique in the casino environment because it really hasn't been done, right? So what would be like an overview of how SponsorBurst will work in tandem with esports in the casino industry?
Yeah, fantastic question. I think there's two really huge growth areas that you see coming. I mean, you see it coming. It's here and there, but it's just going to be absolutely huge. I do think the professionalism of esports is through the roof. Obviously, last year when you see a 16-year-old kid win $3 million in the Fortnite tournament, I mean, think about this. Tiger Woods hasn't won in years, won the Masters tournament in 2019 and took home $2 million. So, you know, you've seen the elevation of the professionalism of esports across the board. So you're going to see all types of entities, including casinos, you know, very heavily involved. We know all about HyperX and Luxor and all that fantastic venue. I think the second big thing, the train that's coming down the tracks, is gambling and esports and the marriage of that. And basically what we do as a sponsorship agency is we represent brands, and we connect them with sports and entertainment, or in this case, casinos, for mutually beneficial partnerships. And brands in the esports space very much need help navigating esports. There's a lot of advertising agencies out there that help them with their traditional print and radio and television media. A lot of digital agencies that help them navigate, you know, buying Google AdWords and Facebook and Instagram ads and all of that. But esports, there's a certain knowledge base that that big brands don't have. And you see very big brands involved in esports sponsorships currently. You know, you see anywhere from AT&T, Arby's, Taco Bell, to, you know, higher end brands like Audi and Tag Heuer watches. So when you see the sponsorship marketplace, the forecast by Ad Age is that the actual revenue for esports should be 1.4 billion by the end of 2020. That was the forecast, with everything that's going on in the world, and esports kind of getting a spike because of that. You may even see that go north of that 1.4 billion. 3/4 of that that revenue is currently over 800 million sponsorship and advertising revenue in the esports. Right. So when you're looking at casinos and brands, what we do as an agency is we marry those two together and find the best platform for them to reach their audience. And so in the casino industry is exactly the same. And you laser focus on who your target audience is, and you introduce them to you know, those either publishers, titles, leagues, whoever that fit that brand.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing because the 2020, we are all kind of excited. It's 2020. When it first started, and this year has been almost apocalyptic with you know, COVID, and now there's the protests and everything that's happening. It's we're living in a very unstable place. But you know, I mean, so you're doing and working with high schools, colleges, etc. And, you know, basically, with the COVID problem that we've had, the question is, will they even be opening, you know, in the beginning in the fall? So how is COVID and the whole general state of our world right now, you know, affected the sponsorship space for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And, you know, the whole world came to a screeching halt about 3 months ago, right? And everything shut down, and, you know, everything was in a panic. So companies do what companies do, and they shut down, they cut back, they furloughed workers. We know the whole, like, sad story, right? But in the sponsorship world, it was essentially like hitting a brick wall, because one thing about sponsorships is if there's uncertainty, there's not a way to plan what you're able to do as far as campaigns. So if there's no sports to be had, you know, you see Major League Baseball and NBA, NHL, you know, major sports needing to, you know, talk about refunding money for games lost. You know, those are the conversations going on. In our world, amusement parks weren't open, schools shut down, colleges shut down. And so you had essentially a pause in the industry because of the fact that we're heavily involved in esports in addition to traditional sponsorships. Esports was the one thing that was able to thrive in this environment because you could be virtual, obviously. You didn't have to be at a certain time or place and have any kind of proximity to any other human being, right? So esports was kind of a out of left field beneficiary of that. And what we saw was an actual spike in what we did in esports. And we've had conversations with a lot of different entities that we've never talked to before. NASCAR got a huge bump because their iRacing series was not only a big hit streaming, but also was picked up by Fox Sports on on national TV. And so you see the esports really taking off in that instance, and the esports was growing. There's a hockey stick spike on the revenue trajectory already. What this did is when there was a vacuum of nothing else on, then people were starved for original content, and esports filled that vacuum. You saw how just even small things became very big in this vacuum of no sports world. The Michael Jordan documentary just did record numbers every Sunday night because people wanted something original as far as content. The NFL draft did fantastic because it was live, and it was something that people were able to tune into and have that ability to have that uncertain outcome, and that's what you would watch live sports for. Esports has now, if it wasn't already in the mainstream, has a very much top of mind of the public as a whole, but more specifically, brands that weren't aware that there's an opportunity here now are very, very much aware.
Right. Wow. So, it's interesting. Earlier you brought up marrying the publishers and marketing, and also the casinos being able to do the same thing, and or collegiate environment as well as amusements. And just recently, probably a couple of weeks ago, there was a bunch of news articles and information regarding the publishers starting to put more in-play ads, right? So you're starting to see them capitalize on it as well, very similar to the film industry, who for years have been doing product placement, et cetera, but now we live in a virtual world. So we're moving closer and closer to Ready Player One. And, a lot of people think, okay, that's insane, but I mean, look at the environment that was, the one they predicted. It was just basically people living in cargo containers, but yet their virtual world was unlimited. And we sort of have a glimpse into that right now with the pandemic and all the craziness that's going on in the world. People are seeking refuge in this alternate environment in order to just live, for a lot of reasons. So, is that something that you're seeing a lot of? Are the publishers wanting to do the sponsorships, or is it the collegiates themselves? What I'm trying to get to is what does that look like if I'm a product, okay, and you're talking to me about these different environments. What does that look like for me? What currently would be your offerings or suggestions?
Yeah, no, that's awesome insight. I think what you had said about product placement in movies being very natural. There's a Coca-Cola can, or you're driving a Ferrari or something like that in the in the movie. That's been very accepted. Audience don't even blink anymore. It's not as if it's just overt obnoxious signage in your face, right? So what you see, and especially your question about publishers, is they figured it out very, very quickly. And if you're able to authentically embed branding within your game, that's just a great way to reach this audience. And I think you saw Madden, and forgive me, I forget the brand, but they sold their naming rights to the stadium inside the Madden NFL game, right? So that's what you see. And with gaming and esports being predominantly a Gen Z dominated industry, brands have not necessarily figured out how to reach Gen Z, because it's just such a unique and special, category and age group of individuals who have come up and just lived with this technology since, they could hold something in their hands. As a baby, they've always had digital technology. They've learned digital environments, and gaming has always been part of their life. And the Gen Z era is so sophisticated as far as digital that you have to reach them in a different way. You don't have a cable TV subscription. They're unplugged. You're not going to be able to reach them through a TV commercial and print and traditional advertising. Digital ad blockers, you're not going to have stuff popping up on your phone left and right. So because of that digital sophistication of Gen Z, you really have big brands who need to build that next generation of customers, really scratching their heads how to try and figure this out. And, our agency helps them do that. And for publishers to be able to look at ways to authentically embed branding within their games, it's not intrusive, and it's a very natural way. That's just a fantastic way to be able to do sponsorships, and the audience will go along for that ride. As long as there's that authenticity, that it's just kind of part of the experience, then the brand kind of gets that cachet of like being, hey, you're cool, everything's good, you get it, you're in my game, right? So that's cool.
Yeah, I had a quick question, because a lot of the people that come to the CEC, and their base is they have brick and mortar operations, like the casinos and stuff, and they really want people to come to their locations to purchase their food and their beverage and to have a good time. And that goes along with some of your clients, like the amusement parks. So having these amusement parks that also want to pull from, the younger generations, because the older generations now are beyond that. So the casinos themselves are also looking to grab the Gen Z population, the millennials and stuff, to get them to come to the casino. What type of a package would you say would be a good way for them to reach out to the Gen Z audience or the millennial audience and pull them into the brick and mortar?
Yeah, there's absolutely, a dilemma for the brick and mortar type of traditional entities, like you said, the casinos or the amusement parks, who are dependent on somebody being there for the day or the weekend or whatever, and buying all their food and beverage and playing the slot machines and all of that, right? I think what you see is you'll see esports helping to be a hybrid version of them being able to expand their reach virtually. So, we mentioned just a little bit ago about the big train coming down the tracks of esports gambling. You see sports gambling virtually now in almost every state. Right. And you see a state like New Jersey, who just got approved to do it a couple of years ago, and they have billions of dollars already in sports gambling revenue. But people still get on a plane and they go to Vegas. Why? It's the experience. So what you're doing with esports is you're actually expanding that experience where somebody can, watch something on Twitch, a tournament going on at HyperX in Vegas, and see the excitement there. You're able to be online and be able to watch that and be a part of that experience. You could potentially gamble on that from the sanctity of your own home someday. But there's just something, as we've seen over the last 3 months, very innately sociable about the human experience. And you might be able to see that virtually, but you're going to want to say, wow, I've seen HyperX. I've got to go there. I've got to visit this place. I got to be part of the crowd when they have a next big tournament. I've got to play in their gaming stations that are really high end. I think what will happen is you have that as what draws you in. I'll make the analogy. The music industry for years and years and years and years was so against streaming and losing out on their sales of a CD. Back in my day, it was vinyl. They were protective for years and years and years, and they tried to shut down the piracy sites and Napster and all of that. I worked for Apple for 10 years. I've lived this. I was at Apple when we introduced iTunes and the iPod, and you will be able to now stream your library of music. That helped the music industry grow. It didn't crush their revenues, which was the expectation. And the reason is that you have exposure to a wider audience of people. The smartest bands over the years in the music industry, the Grateful Dead, Jimmy Buffett, folks like that would always just let their audience have access to their live concerts online. Listen to them. And the real fanatics are all in on that experience. And when they listen to a concert and it's being streamed live, the natural thing to say is, I want to be there. And so the next time, that group is in their town, they go. It expands the audience, and I think that's the analogy.
Yeah, that was the opposite of what the video gaming world did. Was because they had their games offered to people. Blizzard, for example, was a perfect example. They started having the League of Legends tournaments at the Staples Center and stuff like that. So it was almost the opposite. It was on the computer first, and then they started having these esports tournaments, which wasn't really to make any revenue at all. It was really just a marketing tool to help promote the game so more people would play the game.
Yeah, they were. It was reverse. It was reverse for them.
And you're right. It's completely upside down. And when I have conversations with brands, here's the thing that just blows their mind. They get that, there's a lot of gamers in the world. They get there. There's like the audience for esports is projected to be 495 million this year, right? Almost 500 million.
In the U.S.
Right, exactly, and that's right, exactly. Thank you for the clarification. And worldwide, just exponentially, right? So you have this enormous audience. And the brands are like, okay, yeah, I get it. A lot of gamers out there. I see my teenager, always on his Xbox, etc. What blows their mind is that the audience of the people who watch the esports and the Twitch numbers and all of that, it's just, makes their head explode.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. When you have this gaming and you have tournaments and you're watching it, it's just a fantastic experience. What could be better than that? Well, let's all get together and watch it together. And I think what 2020, the real lesson of this is just, people were going so stir crazy because you had none of that social experience. And so I think in esports and in the casino world, what you're going to see is, we get the green light, and everything goes back to normal and the sun comes back out and all of that, you're going to see those experiences, those amusement parks, those sporting events, those casinos thriving, because people will not only have missed it, they'll have now really appreciated it because it was taken away from them, right?
Right. So in marketing, essentially, right off the bat, you're solving two problems that the casino world has right away. One is you're supplying them with this marketing tool, not just advertising, it's marketing tool to actually reach all these audiences to allow them to have an online experience, but then also draw them to a physical experience. And, the second is, of course, once they start hosting events and things like that, then they get to insert the marketing that the other companies want to have exposure with. So there's a lot of ways in which they can leverage what you're talking about almost pretty much immediately within the next 4 to 6 months. So we're in your camp. We've been marketing for years, whether it's been outside or inside also the casino. That was our background, Ari and I's. Always coming up with a unique way of being able to let them, with very little cost, capitalize on something that they're, kind of leaving on the table right now.
Yeah.
So, hopefully they're listening to these messages, and they'll be reaching out to you and us very shortly to ask the questions that they need to ask. I wanted to bring up something that's kind of funny. I don't know if anybody's really watched the series yet, but recently Amazon had a series called Upload. I don't know if you saw it or not. Did you get a chance to?
Teaser about it. Yeah, I want to check it out.
Okay, well, the one thing that's really predominant about that, and I don't want to give it too much away for people that haven't seen it, is the marketing. The whole experience that they have within this show it's so blatantly obvious. It's hysterical. Yeah. But you watch that, and what you're talking about is sort of a step down version of exactly the same thing. Now, of course, that's VR that we're talking about, but that's where we're going. And that. I mean, that's going to be, but even with VR in that experience, they're always, even the characters within that show are sort of dying or grasping to get the physical aspect as well. Because you can present the one, but eventually you need the other. You just have to have it. So it's a natural connection, just like you said in the movie, the music industry, very, very similar.
Yeah.
So good points, Larry.
Well, absolutely. And, when let's, take the casino example, like you just said, when, you're marketing for a casino and you want to acquire that next generation of customers who love to come and gamble and have that experience. Maybe kids today don't grow up playing poker like I did, or, blackjack, or, enjoy slot machines. Maybe the exposure isn't there. And because why? Because there's a whole bunch more choices in the world today, than there was back in the day. And so if you're able to kind of draw your audience in from esports and kind of introduce them to this environment, then you authentically be able to, have them kind of learn, these other games that you have. And I think what you're going to see is, you have companies out there like GameCo and others who kind of are melding that casino gambling with the video game aspect of it. And, you're not going to just sit there and play, Wheel of Fortune, slot machine. It could be, a Fortnite, gambling game that you play, in the casino of the future, right? So,
I just want to touch on one thing. It's interesting to note that, we talked about the human contact of even the younger generations, the Gen Zs and the millennials. I have a 18-year-old, a 21-year-old, and a 25-year-old. they were all quarantined from the beginning of March till only about a week ago or so here in the state of New Jersey. And what they were doing all that time was they were online, talking to friends, meeting the two older ones, meeting girls, etc. But at the end of the day, now that the quarantine's been lifted, they went and met and went on a date to meet that person in person, knowing everything that they knew about them, for months, because they were talking to them online. So, what we're saying, and the three of us are saying, is that the younger generations live online, they communicate online, they socialize online, but they will still need a brick and mortar to go back to. If they're going to meet up, they're going to talk. If you want, and that's what we're saying to the casino industry, is that if you want to gather these people, this is the fish pool that they live in, which is esports and video gaming. Is that right, Larry?
No, yeah, that's exactly right. And I love the story about, your kids. I have a son who just graduated from college in May, and it was the exact same experience, right? You're in lockdown as of March and all of that. And I remember when I used to, I text him, I go, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm with my friends." And when he's like saying he's with his friends, he has his headset on and he has the console and he's like, he's playing virtually
right.
with his friends. And that's what he always meant. But now that he's like not at college anymore and he's, away from that experience, there's a whole bunch of them who are getting together over the summer, going back down to college. There's a show they like. There's a final coming up, the finale of the series. I don't even know what it is. They're all going to get together. They're going to play video games. They're going to watch that series finale. Why? Because even the Gen Z who has grown up in a dispersed virtual environment, the human condition craves that connection, and that's exactly what
it's definitely more impactful.
Wow.
And my wife and I were joking about that the other day. I mean, I have two high school kids at home. I never see them. They're in their rooms. They're doing homework. They're doing virtual classrooms, but they're just nowhere to be found. And you're like, what? Why aren't they wanting to go outside? I mean, we don't all want to date ourselves here, but this couldn't have happened to a better generation. That's all that my wife said, because for them, life has not changed that much. Okay. But they do want that in-person experience at the end. Well, yes, it may be less frequent, but it's definitely more impactful when it happens. Yeah. And for us, we kind of took advantage of it, but at the same time, we really didn't have a choice because it was the only way that we could do everything that we wanted to at that time.
Yeah.
But we have about less than 5 minutes here, so but I just wanted to jump in and change the talking about what the kids are doing and regarding and playing video games and esports. And then what's going to happen once sports gets back. And, the one thing I wanted to ask you was, how do you see esports coexisting with traditional sports once traditional sports gets back into the fray? And I know that's kind of changing the topic, but I wanted to get that in there because, we talked and touched on wagering and betting. And if you could answer that real quick, where do you think that'll be?
Yeah, I think esports has a very, very specific audience, and I think that that audience is always going to be loyal and be there. I reckon it to if you're a hockey fan, you love hockey. You might watch football and you might watch baseball once in a while, but you're a hockey fan. Or wrestling. If you love wrestling, you might be a sports fan, but you're watching that Raw every Monday night or whatever, right? I think esports fans are very loyal. I think it's a lifestyle. And so I see it very much coexisting. But as regular sports comes back, I think you're going to see the esports audience grow. It'll continue to grow and it'll continue to have a trajectory. Why? Because sports is going to come back and baseball will be baseball again someday, and it'll resemble what we all know. And NFL, might be pretty straightforward, in the fall. But you've had now a generation and a whole bit of the mainstream that has been exposed to something called esports that they never have. So I think what you're going to see is that segment is going to kind of live in parallel to regular traditional sports and continue to grow very exponentially.
Well, Larry, I wanted to just give you an opportunity to push your plug where people can find you. And then, hopefully we'll see you at the Casino Esport Conference. If we can all be there in person, that would be wonderful. If not, Ben and I are working on some other options, but that'll be announced probably somewhere toward the end of June. But why don't you tell us where everyone can find you so that they can look you up?
Yeah, you can go right to our platform at sponsorburst.com. I'm Larry at SponsorBurst. You can track me down there. I'm very much looking forward to the conference this fall. And I do have on track a book that's going to be published right around that same time. And I hopefully have it there for everyone, called The Esports Revolution. So I think looking forward to that. I'm one of your panels, and I think we're all going to be there, and it's going to be a great experience.
And of course, Larry, you're a big sponsor of the CEC. Don't forget that. SponsorBurst stands behind its sponsorships as well. So
that's right. Well, yeah, I love the
practice
partnership.
what you preach.
Yeah, no, you guys are great. I love the partnership, and it's a great event. And if there's somebody out there in the audience who hasn't been, definitely check it out. It's a great experience, and it's a great time. So.
Well, it was very, very nice to speak to you, Larry. I hope everything's well with your parents in Ohio, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, very good. Thanks, guys. Nice to see you.
Take care.
Bye.